Spaghetti vongole, or any form of clam pasta, is one of my favorite things to eat when the clams are in season. The secret ingredient really is just good quality clams. If you don't have good clams, no cooking skills could save it. So, very simple. We first cook the dry pasta in boiling water. I like to cook it according to the instructions, but subtract about 3-4 minutes so I could finish the pasta in the clam juice to emulsify. It depends on how creamy you like your vongole. If you like it extremely creamy, I would even cook the pasta from the get-go in the sauce. I personally like it quite watery. So, let's make the vongole. We have some clams that I've soaked in salted water for about 15 minutes. Now we bring the pan to medium heat and we slice some garlic. Once the pan is warm, you add a generous amount of olive oil. That's practically half of your sauce, so don't be stingy. And we slice some garlic. Relatively thin, I would say. And you want to sweat them without browning them, so that they release their fragrance without the sugar content burning. We're not salting at this stage because we want to be able to gauge how salty the clams are. So I would always recommend that you season at the very end, if you need to, that is. Check on the pasta, move them around a bit, make sure they're submerged. Now, an optional step, you can add some chili flakes. I like to add shichimi togarashi, Japanese 7 spice. Definitely not authentic, so don't show your grandma. Alright, everything is emulsified now. We add the clams. Grab them from the bowl. Don't just pour the whole thing in, because you don't know, there might be liquid or sand at the bottom. Well, in this case neither, but my point is still valid. Form one even layer, and we add a dash of white wine. Use cheap dry white wine. Just make sure they're not oaked, because you want to bring the acidity and the brightness. Now we bring this to a boil. Once it starts to boil, lid on, medium-high heat. And they normally cook within 5 minutes. And of course, we're going to finish the pasta in the sauce, so there's an additional cooking afterwards. And you can hear them popping. Once they stop popping, that's when you know that they're finished. By the way, I wouldn't use a non-stick for this. The clam shells, they're going to scratch the non-stick surface and damage it. So use cast iron. Alright, now the popping has calmed down a bit. Check on the clams. Perfectly cooked. What we want to do is we very quickly separate the flesh from the shells. It's not because we want to go for a Michelin star or do any fine dining experience. It's because you don't want to spend this effort cooking perfectly al dente pasta, only to have your guests spending the first 3 minutes trying to remove all the shells. Like, what's the point? I understand the presentation is great, but I solve for tasty food. Of course, you can always keep a few for presentation when you plate, which is what we're going to do here. By the way, the ones that are not opened, they're actually not dead. They're the most resilient, refusing to die. So just cook them for a bit longer. Save 2 for presentation. While we remove the shells, the pasta goes in here for the final stage of cooking. Now, the pasta is going to emulsify with the liquid and thicken the sauce a tiny bit. Now we just want to reduce this a bit while we slice some parsley. For me, I like the stalks as well as the leaves because they add a bit of texture. That's a good reduction. Stove off, clams back in, and parsley in. Just like the clams, we save a bit of parsley for garnish later. Work it in. For me, this is what I want in a vongole. I want the sauce to be a bit watery. I never understand why people add butter to vongole. It takes away from the clams. It doesn't need them. Bit of black pepper, optional, and we can plate. A lot of the cooking liquid goes in. And, as promised, I think 1 looks decent, to be honest. The garnish. That's okay, fine. We can have 2, like this. Bit of parsley. And there you have it. one of my favorite dishes of all time. This is spaghetti vongole. I really hope you enjoy.